And welcome to the GC channel, to our virtual audience around the world. This is a channel especially for general counsels and in-house legal teams by general counsels. We're going to be covering some of the most trendy topics that are keeping you up at night, and we really hope that you'll find the next few minutes insightful and useful information. Talk to you very soon. Welcome to the GC channel. Very delighted to have our first guest, Mr. Scott Blackmer. Someone whose name needs a little introduction. Scott is an authority in a number of areas of law, has been practicing for quite some time, and has developed a following in the IT world and telecom and data privacy and cybersecurity. So with that in mind, as a former partner of Wilmer Hale, at the time Wilmer Cutler at Pickering, Scott now heads the Americas group for First Law International, is one of the senior partners. So with that in mind, welcome, Scott, and just delighted to have you in the program.
Hi, Orlando, and welcome to everyone who's joining us today.
Okay, so we have an international, as you know, First Law has over 80 offices around the world and close to 20,000 attorneys and service providers. And the purpose of the interview is to let some of our international clients get to know you a little bit better, but also understand what's happening in the world of data privacy. This is a very hot topic. You get to write very often, both in terms of text and books, but as well as provide advice to clients that are Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. So what would you say right now is the hottest topic on data privacy?
Well, one of the things that's been happening is a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, because it's accelerated the trend towards remote working and dramatic expansion of cloud-based computing services. Of course, that's something that's been going on for more than a decade, but as a more gradual development. Cloud services make a lot of economic sense for companies in many contexts, because anytime information technology isn't really part of the core offering of the company, it makes sense to outsource to a degree, and that's why you have the tremendous development of externally hosted computing services, Amazon Web Services, AWS, or Microsoft Azure, IBM, Tata Communications, and just thousands of web hosting companies, for example, around the world. And if you think about it, any company that has peaks and valleys in its demand for computing services, it doesn't necessarily make sense for them to build their data centers and provision their whether it's servers or mainframes to their peak demand. If you're in retail, you don't want to invest in your computing services based around your Christmas holiday demand, because much of that would be lying unused most of the time. So cloud computing, it makes a lot of sense. You're basically outsourcing a lot of the devices and personnel to companies that specialize in that, and maintaining a much smaller footprint within your own enterprise. But once the pandemic hit, and you started having lockdowns and restrictions, then you started to forcibly have to maximize the amount of your workforce that you had working away from the offices, and that was going on all over the world. And so you moved as much of your operation outside the office or the plant as possible, and that, of course, just forced companies to put their reliance on cloud-based services, and just accelerated the degree to which they were relying on software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and really accelerated those trends for cloud-based services. But that put a lot of their data outside of their firewall, and suddenly exposed, whether it was company data, trade secrets, or personal data, put that out into devices that were in people's homes and out onto internet connections and mobile connections that in many cases were not devised for enterprise security, and so increase the risks and push companies to find solutions very quickly and expose them to some legal risks that were often outside of the norm.
So we'd like to thank you for your attention in the last few minutes. We hope that you found this GC channel broadcast insightful and useful. And we look forward to having your comments. Make sure that you subscribe and you leave your questions with us. And we promise that we'll get back to you very quick.